Welcome to Energetic Perspectives, a sacred space where I share an energetic approach to very human experiences. I'm Erin and I've been fine-tuning my spiritual gifts after finally being open to shift out of feelings of darkness that once felt too heavy to step out of. This podcast is an opportunity for you to settle into transmissions from the Akashic Records and receive tangible tools that help you get into receiving mode of the abundant and joyful life I know we are all capable of tuning into. If you are ready to further step into your light while opening up to new ways of being, you are exactly where you're meant to be right now. Before we dive in, I invite you to ground into this space with me by taking 3 deep breaths to center and clear some energy. Close down the eyes. Take a deep breath in through the nose and let it out the mouth. Deep breath in and let it all go. One more deep breath in through the nose and let it all out. I am so grateful that you are here with me in this moment. Let's get into the episode. Spirit speaks. You are inherently worthy. This message has been coming up so powerfully and potently for me. I want to share just some personal stories regarding this truth. I am inherently worthy, and so are you. This message has come up before in my life, but I don't feel I've truly embodied it fully. And now that embodiment is occurring in such a deep way. It has taken such a long path to get to this. And I still need support on it. The mind still comes up with reasons to not believe that I am inherently worthy. And I want to expand on what that means. I want to expand on what the belief that you're not worthy looks like, or how it's looked for me, with hopes that something within you resonates. I've had a lot of trouble in my life separating my worthiness from my appearance. This is rooted in so many different things. Oh my goodness, so many. And I always believe that the struggles that we have had in our life are meant to bring us into the light. And they're meant to be brought forward, especially for me, to help others who are feeling the same things. Maybe you have been on this healing journey for a while and still struggle with it. I know that's been the case for me. Maybe you're just starting out on your healing journey and really leaning into self-love. And I know this message can just ring true to the human in all of us. Spirit has been providing me with this message. You are inherently worthy for years now. I've spoken about it on podcasts. I've spoken about it here, I'm sure. And like I said, it's a message that I haven't fully embodied. And I want to bring forward a few things in this episode. I don't want it to be very long, because this is a message that can truly be shortened. But I also want to share some of my human experiences with this journey. On Saturday, I attended a sound bath healing. And in that experience, almost immediately as the sounds started playing I watched myself, my essence, my being leave my body. I walked around the room, honoring everyone who was there, knowing that we're all just part of a sacred journey, that there is no coincidence that we were all there in that room. I brought my friend Sarah. I've been there before. It's my home yoga studio, Living Yoga in Queens, and it is amazing. It's such a sacred space. And it really feels like home when I'm there. Even just the movement of yoga I've been returning back to, and it is just returning home. Oh, it's a beautiful practice. Yoga union. Oh, I love it so much. So during this sound healing experience, I walked around the room. I looked up and I was transported by a beam of light into my first High Council meeting with the Guardians of Light. If you don't know who the Guardians of Light are, they're an entity, a collective, not really, I guess it's an entity, a collective of energies with ascended masters that are here to guide light workers into the light. That's really the mission. And I have connected with them. I had a very strong download of my first ever connection with them in January of 2021. And ever since then, they've been guiding me so potently. And I was transported to a High Council meeting. And I was met by High Priestess Dana, Dana, that welcomed me in and was asking if I accepted the role of High Council of the light workers of the earthly realm. And I needed to accept the role humbly. And essentially it kind of felt like a knighting ceremony, I imagine. And then I was presented by Divine Creatrix of One, Sophia, who has been guiding me for a month now, I believe. Presented herself to me, at least. I'm sure I've been guided because it's one for my whole life, but the first conscious connection was around a month ago. And I'm now reading a book of Sophia transmissions, the Sophia Code, and every fiber of my being is resonant. And I'm immediately downloading the information, which is something new to me. So during this High Council meeting where I was knighted, she presented herself and proceeded to tell me many different messages, which I will expand on in another episode. At the time, I was struggling with a bad reaction from a facial wax immediately that day. And I had pimples all over my face. It was extremely irritated. I haven't gotten a wax in I don't know how many years on my face. So definitely some bacteria got in there. And my face was very, very affected. And prior to the sound bath, I had invited my friend, Sarah, and the thought came in, maybe I shouldn't go. And it was just a passing thought, something that I could witness. And soul came in and was like, you are going. And it also was feeling like an initiation. I find that anytime fear comes up or a doubt comes up and we act anyway, it's an initiation. It's really activating something within us. And oh my goodness, I'm so glad I went. And then I also had a beautiful experience at my fiance John's cousin, Teddy. So my future cousin, his album release party for his band Lady Bread. Check him out. And it was just such a beautiful day with my face being as it was. I couldn't put any makeup on because I didn't want to irritate it more. And I just showed up and I shined my light. That's what I need to do. Show up and shine my light, regardless of what the outer appearance circumstance is. So that goes for even just, fear of being seen by someone. I know I used to have fears like, oh, if I post this, people are going to think I'm crazy. And now it's just like, you know what? I'm going to shine my light anyway, because my energy doesn't lie. And neither does yours. And the energy of my worthiness is dependent on how I look was something that I really embodied. I have had struggles with severe Adderall addiction because of eating disorders, where it was easy for me to not eat in my life because I had assistance. And I just grew up always being very self-conscious of my body. I also had a lot of cystic acne. I was on Accutane when I was very young. I also was on birth control very young because of my acne, which, just a side note, I would, just knowing what I know now, I'm like, I would never make that decision if I had known. But my worthiness really was like, how do I look? What do I weigh? And today I stepped on the scale for the first time in a very long time because I was feeling good in my body. And feeling good in my body because I am taking loving action. I am doing what lights me up. I am returning to yoga and taking walks. And when my energy feels like it needs to move because I'm a manifesting generator with all the sacral energy, I move and I'm doing all these things so beautifully. Oh, my life feels so beautiful. And today I stepped on the scale from a different lens. Am I going to validate myself by the number? And the number was not what I had thought it would be. It was higher. And I recognized that the intention behind stepping on the scale was to see if I weighed less than what I had previously weighed. Had I just listened to my body's wisdom, had I just looked at myself, my energy, I look completely different. Hands down. I wouldn't have needed to validate my weight if I was leading in with love for that action. So I noticed the number being different than what I thought. And then, it wasn't all consuming. Like at points in my life, it's consuming me. But I was like, that's interesting. What was my intention there? So I spoke about last week, totally butchering the name of EMDR therapy. So we're not even going to try. I had EMDR therapy today, which is amazing. I'm obsessed with my EMDR therapist, not in an unhealthy way. Lainey, she's amazing. And we unpacked so much of that, believing that your worthiness is tied to how you look. And I was transported back into life experiences that make sense of why I believe that. And then throughout EMDR, essentially what you're doing is desensitizing yourself to the traumatic or harder situations, and then reprogramming a new belief. This is something I am doing in other ways as well. My transformational coaching with Yes Supply is also about all subconscious tools. So yesterday we were doing practices. I was a practice coach and then practice client, and we were doing subconscious work, and I brought this one up as well because I know that it goes deep. And the overwhelming knowing that I am inherently worthy is what comes through once I've desensitized myself to the old. And today during therapy, it was so beautiful because every single time I've gone, I start to cry, and it is tears that I never let myself cry before. That is exactly what's happening. I can feel it, the energy of it. I feel it being like squeezed out of my cells being like, oh, we have a safe place to release this now. And I just pour out tears. And it's old. And it's like giving myself permission to feel what I never let myself feel. So that is so cleansing in itself. If that's all I did that's enough. So during this, as I released and cleansed, a portal opened. It was really interesting because she and I have tried different techniques because it's bilateral stimulation, and that can be through eye movement. It can be through tapping, like a butterfly tap on the shoulders, also on tapping on the legs. So there's a bunch of different ways that you can do this bilateral stimulation. However, she pointed out that it seems like eye movement is very potent for you and it transports you somewhere. She's also, spiritual, so she gets it. And when she said that, a light bulb went off. And I was thinking about it before she said it, so I was really glad she brought it up, because in human design, my highest cognition, my highest sense is outer vision. So things visual are very, very important for me. And this is how I learn better. It's a really great reminder as well, just for learning and taking in new information. And the eye movement is with the eyes opening or moving your eyes. So it makes sense that that's what's transporting me into a different experience beyond the others. So I can imagine someone with a cognition of touch in human design would maybe benefit more, this is just a theory, from tapping on the body instead of the outer vision. So it's really, something that you try on, and with a trained therapist, of course. So it was really interesting. And I also want to just honor myself for doing this work, and also honor anyone else who is listening, because I know that means that you are healing and wanting to heal. So with this experience, after we desensitized to the hard things in my life that made me believe that I was valued based on how I looked or based on how much I weighed, a portal opened, and I was wrapped in so much love from my dad, who passed away in 2019. He is my dad, John. He's been in my life ever since I can remember. But after my first dad passed away in 1996, my dad, John, came into the picture. So he's my dad through and through. But he came into this beautiful session, and I just heard, "I will remind you when you forget." And I was transported back to the experiences that in his presence growing up, in his presence throughout my whole life, I never doubted my worthiness. I didn't think that it was based on my appearance, and he was a safe space for me. And it was really beautiful to recognize that that influence has been there. So as I was crying and he was saying, "I will remind you when you forget," which is, how beautiful. My higher self started to come through. And the higher self, I want to just put a side note to this, is not a version of you that is better. It lives within you. It's just sometimes we have masks and layers that block us from embodying the intuition of the highest self. That's part of this human experience. So I really see my higher self, my inner being, this version of me that knows the truth, all in one, and also they are me. I think that's important. She came in and said, "I will remind you when you forget too." So I was just surrounded with so much love, with a physical therapist, not physical therapist, but an in-person therapist. We were doing it virtually, but someone there in the physical realm supporting me. And then I had my dad come in, and then my higher self came in, and then my dad, Jack, who passed away in 1996, he chimed in and he was like, "Me too, I'm here too." And when I was talking to my mom, she said that when I was explaining the story, she was like, I had a feeling he would be there too, because that was true. He did love you so much and just never had any feelings about your appearance whatsoever. And it was just a really beautiful experience through and through. And this message of I am inherently worthy. You are inherently worthy is so important, my loves. It really is like the thing, because most of the time we place on our worthiness on something outside of us, whether that's our physical outside, our appearance, or the amount of money that we have, or what we do for a living, or the connections that we have in our life. And if we have like one best friend or 5 best friends, sometimes people think having more is better. There's just every external circumstance we can place our value on. And this is a reminder that none of that is determinant of your value, because you are inherently worthy. And it's really important to attune yourself to the spaces that reflect that back at you. To attune yourself by connecting with the people that show you your light. I have been connected with so many beautiful people that keep reflecting my light right back at me, letting me know. And it's important. It's not placing your value on yourself based on what someone else says, but just having your own light reflected back at you is so key. And we have power on where we put our energy, what spaces we're showing up in, what intention we are coming through with, in order to make sure that we are constantly being reminded when we forget that we are inherently worthy. This message is so beautiful, so powerful. It's something so potent for me right now, and I just know that it is so important. So I wanted to share it with you all. I want to thank you so much for listening, and I will catch you on the next one. If this episode resonated with you, I invite you to share it on your Instagram stories and tag me at Erin Panzarella and the show at Energetic Perspectives, and share it directly with a loved one who will resonate too. Subscribe to the show to automatically receive the download so you never miss an episode. If you are loving the transmission shared here, I'd so love if you rate Energetic Perspectives 5 stars and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. If you screenshot your review and DM it to me on Instagram, you'll be gifted a discount on one of my single sessions as a token of my deep gratitude. Send in questions to the podcast by recording a voice note on erinpanzarella.com/podcast, and I'll tap into an answer from the Akashic Records, provide on-the-spot quantum leap coaching, or answer any questions about me and my work. Select submissions will get featured on the podcast too. If you are a new or existing podcaster and want to up-level your podcasting journey, check out Captivate, my preferred podcasting platform. Captivate is my favorite one by far, and I've tried 3 before it. If you choose Captivate, sign up using the link in my show notes, and you'll be supporting me as I grow on this journey too. I would love to keep connecting on Instagram. Connect with me at Erin Panzarella and the show at Energetic Perspectives. And again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for tuning into the show.